Hey guys, it is I. It is me. I have resurfaced. I have come back. My name is Ashley. For those of you that don't know me, I am a higher self channeler, and I have revived once again. These last 2 weeks, I can honestly say I've gone through one of the biggest and longest hardships that I've had to go through since I started my journey. And what I can say is it doesn't matter if we fall down, it's how we get back up. So here I am, rising back up again. Now, the point of my story today is to talk about tests. I haven't been through a test in a very long time, but I do feel that this last 2 weeks was God putting me on full stop, and I had to go through what I would call a midterm test. Now, my particular midterm test was to encompass everything that I needed to learn or had learned throughout these last 2 years of my ascension journey. And now, at this point in time of not having tests for an extended period of time and feeling like I was in this river or this flow, God's flow, when I got tripped up with this earth-shattering situation, and I would say that it didn't seemingly seem like an earth-shattering situation. If I say it out loud, the way it comes out doesn't seem like that. But what it triggered was almost a kaleidoscope of emotions. And the thing is that I haven't felt this low in like over 2 years. This particular test was very crafty. This particular test was encompassing the entire lessons that I've learned thus far. So if you too are on this journey and you've been on it for about 2 years now, and you notice that these waves are crashing down on you, not just because of the solar fluctuations and our DNA activations, but I truly feel like we are at a stage not only that we feel tired, not only not understanding where the gold is at the end of the rainbow, but truly we are here in this time of self-evolution. And I feel like what I went through was the next layer coming off, leading to my particular growth and greatness. So if you are on this journey and you feel like you're in a funk right now, and if you feel like everyone's being bullshit to you and you feel like things aren't matching up, and if the work you've equated isn't being shown in the present world, and all the things that you may have thought that would have been happening or should have been happening or could have been happening haven't happened, and you're really questioning your self-evolution, your spirituality at this time, please know that if you are also feeling this way, I just went through a really, really, really big midterm test. And not only that, I've noticed in dream time, I'm also experiencing something very similar. And I'll talk about that a little later. But I want to get back to this midterm test. So, in my personal situation, I'll make it as brief as possible. All through this time that my ascension journey started off, I had to get away from a narcissist. Now, my first time will be my last time. But that was very painful and painstaking to kind of dissect and break down everything. How did I end up with a narcissist? How did I not see a narcissist? How did I let a narcissist decimate my life? He was actually the catalyst to my spiritual awakening. Seemingly did not know that at the time, right? Like most of us. But also, what transpired because of that catalyst was me realizing who my true friends were. I ended up having to cut away hundreds of people, if not the closest 40 in my life, after 30 years of friendship for most of them, and realizing that they weren't truly my friends. That was all that time back. Same thing goes for the family members that didn't follow along either. And that was heartbreaking because you think family's going to be there. But here's the thing. You don't choose your family, right? They come to you through blood. That's what they always say. But at the end of the day, they are your blood and they should treat you better. So the point is that if they treat you worse than a stranger on the street, they're probably not really your family. Maybe you should be picking on a stranger on the street. Maybe they're your true family. But those were lessons that I had to go through in these last 2 years, and I bet you guys have had to do something similar. We've had to hermit and kind of protect our energy, and that's something that I've been doing wholeheartedly. For those of you that know, I've been starting my own business. I got my website up recently, fully conductive, fully working, and I was on the precipice of promoting. I also was just finishing every little knick-knacky thing in this apartment in order so I could put it on Airbnb, thus alleviating some fun situation and giving me a lot more levity in my life. I was on this beautiful path, it seemed, this ever-flowing God river. I have not had to ask for much. I've manifested most, and realistically, I thought I was on a trajectory that made the most sense, and it was very effortless. It seemingly was effortless. Now the thing was, is that what hit me, like I said, had a kaleidoscope of emotions, but was so seemingly simple. Okay, so I have been having issues with those around me who first started, and how I didn't notice this was coming to a head was that all of a sudden, after for some time not being attacked by persons out in the regular world, I started getting a lot of attacks again from people. They were trying to persecute me or make me the villain every time I was showing them love and compassion. And I was like, I'm like, why is it that I haven't been experiencing this? And all of a sudden, this 1 week, I've been bombarded with this. I didn't pay attention to it. And I'm saying this out to you guys because maybe you guys are feeling the same way or in the same situation. So I didn't take notice to that. Then what happens? I come home that same day that I got hit by 3 different people that weren't listening to me, that weren't taking in what I was saying, and they were spitting it back to me. And I was in a really low place because I was just like, what the hell? Like, why am I getting this all in the last days, in this last week? And it was really playing with my mind. So when I got home that day, I go on my floor and it's squishing. I realized that the furnace, the valve on the furnace was shot and it broke. And all the water that was coming in because of the AC had now seeped into all of my floors, and I had to rip them all up. Now, that put a big damper on me renting this place. And it also put a damper on my focus to try to get the promotions going for my website and for my business. It put a damper on my peace of mind. It put a damper on my my exuberant spirit. And I just went to a pretty low place because, like most of you on this journey, maybe sometimes, you get to certain points where you feel like you're on the right trajectory. And what happened was this, like, one seemingly simple thing that caused all of this for me. And at the first moment, I didn't realize what was really happening. It took me a while. And I'm sharing it because if this is happening to you in some way, shape, or form, listen to what I'm saying, because maybe I'll get you out of it. And maybe if you follow the same steps, or if you're seeing the same things, it may help you out. So what happened is that the floor gets damaged. I got to rip this all out. Have to put a post and hold off on renting this place out. And when this all seemingly happened, I went to the place, like I always do, like most people do, of woe is me. Most of us do. So I was in this woe is me place, and I realized the one resounding thing that this floor, which is just a symbol, that's what tests tend to do. It's not really the floor I'm upset at. The floor signified something different. And it caused a whole other ricochet of emotions and feelings that I needed to challenge. It was a midterm, and I needed to face. Because I feel like once I faced it and I realized what the whole lesson was this entire time, did I learn the lesson? I was being given a big-ass review. Okay? So, because I haven't been tested in a long time, I'm a little rusty. Because I haven't been feeling this way in a long time, I'm a little confused. Now, had it been 2 years ago after I was going through test after test after test, I probably would have caught on to what was going on. But this review really put things into perspective. So I'll give you a very short synopsis of what took place. This floor goes out. I got to rip it out myself. I pack up all the garbage myself. I throw out all the garbage myself. I have to come up with the costs myself. Not only am I the breadwinner for myself, but I'm also for my son. This place was a disaster. I felt less than as a mother. I felt like I was putting my son in a bad circumstance. And that's just mommy guilt. For those of you that are a mom, you'll understand what I'm saying. But what happened was I was like, you know what? Why is the world showing me this right now? It'd be really great if I had a partner to lean on, if I had someone to depend on. Maybe if I had somebody in my life that could help me get through this. Went to an even lower place. So what ended up happening as I was meandering and trying to figure out what I was going to do in this situation, I realized that night I went out to walk my dog. I'm going to explain that sometimes in this dry season or in this point of time in our journey, we feel like we're getting to the end of the race. So usually at the end of any race, you got to give it all you've got. And at the same time, it's the easiest time for us to tap out and give up because we're just so tired and we're just so strained and we're just so like, when is it going to come? When is it going to end? When is the next level hitting us? When is the next trajectory? When is the next change? When is the next timeline? All of those things go through our mind as we persevere through these challenges and this life and this journey. So that night, I'm in the park and I see a figure, a person that I've never met before. This guy is seemingly good looking. This guy is spiritual by nature. This guy tells me that he's looking for a place to rent. He's got 3 months worth of rent up front. He'll pay cash. And then when I asked him what he did for a living, guess what? He does tiling and he fixes floors. So in that moment of time, I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is my godsend. And that was the trick. Sometimes on this journey, especially after we've gotten so much on our own, you think when you're most thirsty for nourishment in this desert, sometimes seemingly, that there's an oasis waiting for us. But what we don't realize sometimes with these tests or these midterms, that the oasis we're being presented is not an oasis. It's simply a mirage. I thought that this was a godsend, but I later came to realize that it was one of the enemy's presence. So I'm getting to what I feel like is my next point of evolution, and maybe you guys do too. This guy tells me all these things. It seems like he's my ticket out of my problems, and that's where I went wrong. Not only was I putting my power into someone else, not only was I saying that, oh, I'm going to find the solution out there, someone else is going to give me the solution, someone else is going to help me out of this. This is because this is my personal ticket. This is the thing that, if you've been on my channel, I've been struggling with in my life, in my journey. My biggest dream, and if there was anything I ever asked God for, it was for family, for help, for assistance, for a partner. So right as I'm getting to the last legs of this race, or seemingly getting to the last legs of this race, because I know that all of you feel this too, that in this next year or so, something major is coming. And the thing is that we don't know fully what our full capacity is as souls, as characters in this play. And neither do I. I'm getting to know. I've learned a lot. And when this midterm came, I only got my answer after I passed. The other thing I want to say is that if you are going through a midterm or a test of this grandeur, most of your spirit team is going to be really quiet. I was like, why is this all happening to me? When I went low in my vibrational self, because of everything I was feeling and seeing in my 3D, I also was getting hit with a lot of negative thought forms. Things that were telling me like, oh, maybe if the world's showing you this, maybe it's because you're not really who you think you are. Maybe you do need someone else, and you do need this, and you do need that. All I kept hearing was that rhetoric. All night side, all right side, okay? Because this pylon was to ensure that I don't get back up. Most of us fall a lot, but it's how we get back up that defines who we truly are. So when this person seemingly had all of the things I needed, or supposedly needed, I couldn't shake the feeling I had in my gut, something in my gut. And like I've said before, when everything else is quiet, your gut, your solar plexus is going to be the one thing that's like ding, 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 ding. So I couldn't shake that. Couldn't sleep for nights. I was like, why does this person seem like they're so great, yet my gut isn't really sitting well with it? So if you're going through something like this and this seeming oasis comes to you, please pay attention, because it may not be the oasis you think, and it may be a mirage. So this person seemingly had these things, yet the things I wasn't paying attention to was that he needed to move in really quickly. He had 3 dogs, and there was no real assurity, because we were doing month to month, that I could ever get this guy out. With the laws here in Toronto and how desperate everyone is for rent, it's a really hard time right now with the laws in place to get people, tenants, out of apartments. So my personal want and wish for this place was to always do Airbnb, given the high risen issues in my particular city. So I was going to be compromising my truest want for this apartment, my truest goal for this apartment, so that I might get money and some assistance and seemingly get that help from an outside source that I've been looking for. I always felt like me getting help was a solitary formation for me making it, okay? Because the thing is like, I've been able to do almost everything. However, the partner or the friend or the companion or the real solid help in the external world is what I've always suffered with all of my life. And I suffered with even more tremendously during this ascension journey. So when this person came and they were offering all this, my old version of self kind of chimed up and was like, oh my gosh, this is the godsend you're looking for. This can make everything go away. But my ascended version of self that has already done so much growing was like, no, something's off. And it was true. I stuck with my gut and I passed the exam. And I felt it immediately because I was no longer woe is me in the funk. My elevation and my actual energetic body once resonated at a higher frequency that I was more accustomed to and used to all this time. I haven't felt this low since 2 years back. And there was reason for that because that's part of the exam. That's part of the test. You have to be put in the same type of parameters that you felt your lowest to see if you've learned your faith, to see if you've learned what the true schematics were of your own test, of your own journey. So what happened was I realized all through this time, my biggest hang up even in the past was always trying to help others, being this scapegoat, being this sacrificial lamb. And the thing was that I was like not seeing that exact same scenario being faced to me because I haven't been that person in so long. So when this person was saying they needed help, I was like, wow, look at how this all works out. I get to help somebody, I make money, I get my floor fixed, everybody wins, and I get to help out a person. It was so seemingly great. And that's what I mean about the Oasis. I could not realize that I was being tested. I did not realize at that moment in time. But what I did realize through actual introspection and evaluation of my entire journey, I realized what was happening. I was making an excuse for this person. I was making an excuse like I had for my family, like I had for my friends, like I had for my ex, like I had for all persons previous. And I was realizing that I was going to compromise. And I was realizing that this particular person actually needed more help than they were offering me. I didn't see that. Okay? Now the thing is that why this is important, because sometimes they say that this is actually an Aesop's fable, but it's one of my favorite lines. God only helps those that help themselves. Now the thing is that this is not in the Bible, but this was something that always stuck out in my mind. Because when you're woe is me, that's not going to really get you enlightened. When you're woe is me, you're not really going to elevate much. So the thing is that I realized in that moment, I needed to help myself. I needed to help myself, and I found and realized that through this particular person. This reflection of seemingly being the Oasis was really the gift that the enemy was trying to feed me to make me codependent once again, to make me lose sight of my own greatness or your own greatness. That's how the enemy shapes these presents or shapes these figures, places, or things at the time of these tests or midterms, to see if you take that instead of going for your own greatness. That's the trick that the enemy always tries to do. And I didn't realize it right then, but I'm telling you guys now, if you're in this particular situation, this might be happening to you right now. The enemy might be serving you a plate of goodness to hope that you get off this race. Because realistically, they will come in any form that you're looking for. This person was hitting all the markers, except when I listened with more discernment, I realized that this person had not helped themselves in their own existence. This person had not helped themselves get to a place that actually satiated their own proper placement in life. This person having 3 dogs is very irresponsible. This person trying to get an apartment with 3 dogs is even more impractical. This person having a bad credit rating, being 42 years old, was something of a concern. Now, I was going to end up giving this person all of the exits in their particular life, making me the dependable, making me the one that crutches them, not the other way around. And for once, I finally got that golden, or that, they say that thin line where I was like, no, Ashley, this is what you used to do. Help those that help themselves. You, Ashley Boyle, no construction. And the reason why I didn't want to go to that place, and I haven't been doing construction things for some time, is because it reminds me of my father, and it reminds me of my ex, because I used to do construction jobs with both of them, growing up and in the last 8 years. So something about that was like more of a, why is it that it's always on my shoulders? Why is it that I always have to do this, and I don't ever get this apparent help? And I was being put against myself. And here was what God was trying to show me. And here is what God may be trying to show you in your own personal midterm, in your own personal test. The real truth was that every single skill and capacity was already in me. I know how to lay tile. I don't need this guy to lay tile. And I am not going to lay tile. I'm actually going to do an epoxy floor. And I'm going to do all the other reparations and all the other repairs that need to take place in this apartment and in this house. And I'm finally going to execute everything myself. Now, the reason why I feel like this was my test was because there's no more excusing myself from my own greatness. Just like I don't think there is any more excusing yourself from your own greatness. If there's skills and there's traits that you have within you that you haven't been flossing or using because seemingly you are scared of your own excellence, which I am too. Because what this test represents is that I'm finally saying, I don't need nobody. In order for me to be my fullest, truest self, to be who I'm supposed to be, stationed on this planet, I need to be self-sufficient and I need to be strong enough to help others. And not to help those that don't help themselves, but to help those that are in need, that have tried all of their own resources and need that leg up. And that's what my last video was talking about. I am done helping those that don't seemingly want to help themselves. They're looking for ones like us that shine. And we're like moth. I mean, we're a light that moths are all attracted to. And I almost got tripped up on this test, but I realized that this person was a mirage and not an oasis. And as scary as this reality was for me to face, it's basically like me saying, here's my next level of evolution. Am I okay to not be in this relationship? Am I okay to do everything on my own? Because I need to vibrate at a place where everything comes to me. All of my biggest dreams and wishes have to come to me by my own resonance. And the only way I can attract it, and if you know anything about manifestation, you have to be what you're looking for. So if I let this seemingly whatever oasis come into my life, that's the vibration I would be vibing at. A codependent person once again. Telling myself that I'm not good enough. Telling myself that I can't make it on my own. Telling myself that I can't move forward in this journey and take all the skills and all of the knowledge that I've taken so far. Because most of us at this point are feeling like, when is it coming to an end? Or when does the next level show up? Or when does the justice arrive? Or when does the, the affinity of Eden come and fall upon us on this earth? We look around and we're seeing all this negativity. And it's hard to keep our spirits up. And when I was put in this low, low, low place, I realized, I was like, this is the biggest test of all. Can I persevere in the face of seemingly everything being dismantled? Everything that I've worked towards for a very long time, seemingly getting to this big head and then having it crash down. What someone call a tower. But in this case, this was not a tower. It was a midterm. It was a test. So if you too have been going through this funk, or you've been feeling really disheveled, and you feel like there's something that might get you out of it, and it may be like drinking or partying or succumbing to a vice that you've given up for a long time, or maybe it's getting back with that ex that mistreated you. They show up all of a sudden acting like they're great, okay? Or it could be a family member that really shit on you, and they show up and they're begging your forgiveness, or whatever the case may be. Please know, this may just be an oasis and a mirage. It's a gift from the enemy trying to bring you to a place of just stagnancy so you don't go to the next level of fear, that you got to realize, I got to go to the next level. It's a scary place, but I think that's where we're at. So with that said, I'm going to do the cards. I needed to share that personal experience because if any of you know, I haven't been on a hiatus since I started this. I haven't felt like I've been so demotivated from my existence for this long. I went to such a dark place that is not me anymore. So this test really took it out of me. But the minute I realized and I pieced those pieces together, it's like I just blew out again. And I was like, yes, I figured it out. Because the feeling was so anonymous. I started reconnecting again. I started feeling like everyone was like, yeah, you see it. You see the silver lining, Ashley. You figured it out. All of a sudden, all the pistons were firing once again. So the thing was, maybe some of us have been on this wave and this river that's been very tranquil. We may get this trip up, and I just wanted to talk about it. So there you go. I'm also going to do the cards. This is going to be a long one because I've been off for a while. You may not watch, but I'm going to do the cards anyway. Anyways, I just want to say I'm back in action, and I think this is my last pit stop before this friggin' shit show begins. Because realistically, if you're not on the same tip as me, I think 2025 is going to be rocking into something huge. And I am going to say this again. If you do live on the West Coast, please get the fuck out of Dodge. I really think the West Coast, California, all that whole region is going to have some major shit go down this summer. So I keep reiterating that, and I don't know who watches my channel, but I'm really getting scared for that side of the world. The Pacific Ocean is really like sticking out in all my visions usually, so I can't keep passing that up. And another reason why I knew I was going through a test, because my dream time, I've been doing some crazy stuff with some cartels, and when I had my breakthrough, I was in the same Galleria for like 3 days or so in my dream time. I don't know if you guys go through dream time missions as well, where you end up in gallerias or condos or places that are seemingly all the same, or like school, and you're doing these missions and you have your guides and you have an objective. I've been working with my higher in one of them, most of them. I personally have been working with my night higher lately. We're trying to work on something together. But all I'm saying is that in my dream time, I've been going through some pretty outrageous, like DL ops going on. And at the same time, the last dream that I recall, I did something pretty major. I released somebody and I started a raid. And the thing is that I feel like who I released was a whistleblower. And I feel like those that might get whistleblowed on are some form of cartel or some big group. They seem to be Latino in the dreams that I had that were recurring. But as you can see, it's like as if when I released this truth to myself with my own test, I released the guy in the dream. And yes, it could be subconscious, but at the same time, I feel like I did something that I was not supposed to do, but supposed to do, and needed to start and evolve even in my 4D. So, yeah, my 4D was kind of matching up with my 3D. So that's what also gave me another hint that something was going down, because my dreams were so expressive. I was remembering so much of it that I was like, and it was the same recurring theme. I had the same recurring mission, not the same mission, but a continuance thereof. And I feel like that's what was going on. As I was going through that low phase, I was also going through a very tumultuous phase in my 4D. So I thought I'd share that. I don't know if you guys pay attention to your dream time. We really should. We can basically figure out what's going on in our day-to-day through 3D in our dream time. So it was helping me navigate in my 3D. So do pay attention to your dreams, because they may give you small crumbs or breadcrumbs or hints as to what's going on in your regular life. So let's get to the cards. I love you guys lots. If you've been on this whole time while I've been talking, just know that you guys are my family, and this is as much healing for me as it is, I hope, for you, because I am a human being. I am a mom. I'm trying to keep it all together, and I'm trying to raise in my own vibration to the point that, you know, I can maybe take on and help others to the point that I hope I'm an example of what it means to just really persevere in life. And okay, guys, I'm sorry. There's so many freaking cards, and we keep getting this Caring Connections card. So again, for those of you out there, I think you're getting in a couple. It may not be myself, but that's cool. I keep saying it, but it's like I keep hoping for it. But now I'm like, no, I think realistically, I'm truly just got to do the most amazing, brilliant version of myself. I feel like I'm going right back to childhood. You know, when you're like celibate and a child, and you just focus on you, and you do basically everything you're supposed to do to its most maximized brilliance, because you have no ego and you have nothing tripping you up, like love and all these 3D bullshit things. That's what I think we're all supposed to go achieve, is that excellent child self, that brilliant genius that was all in us. The thinking woman. Okay, so that's numero dos. I'm also going to do some clarifiers. So I hope you all had a wonderful last week, because if you're going through this exam, or you're going through this last whatever hoop ha ha, it really kicked my ass. And with all these like solar flares too, I've been out there trying to charge as much as I can, even though it's been like super cloudy, then sunny, then cloudy, then sunny. I don't put it past anyone for not playing with the weather. I really do think they play with the weather to ensure that we don't get as much sunshine as we should. And at the same time, all these chemtrails, people are like, oh no, it's not chemtrails, it's them releasing particles to help our ozone. Here's a food for thought. Why don't, if you ever look up at the night sky when it's totally clear, I have a ton of planes that pass my house daily, okay? And what I will say is, none of those trails are coming out at night. Why don't they do it at night? You know, it makes more sense. No one would bitch and complain because they're probably sleeping. You wouldn't notice all of the trails. Or does it have something to do with the sun? Now, the thing is they could say that these particles that they're putting out to help the ozone may be ignited by the sun. I don't know. But I really do feel like there's something funny that they just don't do it at night, and they tend to always do it during the day while the sun is out. So I will say, I do feel like all the powers that be, aside from poisoning us every other way, are trying to, you know, stop us from ascending another way, which is blocking the sun with clouds or causing particles that cause clouds to arrive. I know that might sound weird to all of y'all, but I've been thinking and feeling that for the last couple of weeks. I've known about this for some time, but I feel like I'm experiencing it all the time. I'm like, why can't I get a fully sunny day? So I've been, okay guys, SD card in place. All the data I could possibly need. The video cut out. I'm coming back on. Coming back strong. So, as I was saying, last card coming out. Then I'm going to do the clarifiers. I'm going to try to make this as speedy as possible because this is a long one. But God wants us to use everything we've got in our arsenal at this time. I'm having to put on my construction hat again. I'm having to delve back into times where I gave for others and I had those tools for myself and I didn't want to use them. Simply because it's unmasking another part of myself. And I feel like if you've got skills that can pay the bills and you're not using them, I think now is the time. And the last card again, victory. I feel like the collective has the same message coming through. Now, it is talking about a caring connection, and it does have a thinking woman, and it does have the door to value, and it does seem like there's victory at the end of all this. This has been a very similar message we've been getting. So this is what I think is in the energy for you guys. And I would say I do it week to week, and it seems like the message is the same. So I'm going to bust out the clarifier cards. I'm using the return to spirit cards as the clarifiers. But if I start seeing the same cards that came out, I'm going to laugh. Because that means that you guys are on a trajectory of greatness. And that's all I want for all of you. I know I can only share what I'm going through. And make it make sense for myself and try to make it make sense as a nugget of knowledge that maybe I can impart in others. And I know that people may not understand my way of doing things, but how else can I relay a message unless I use myself as the evidence of such? So, if you guys are also going through this, I hope that something I said today, something hit home, something of a mirage showed up for you too. And God saying, I am the Oasis. So wait for your greatness to be revealed. And keep trucking forward and realizing, oh my gosh. Under caring connections is simplicity. Under thinking woman is the right order again. We saw that last time. So there seems to be a theme to the energy. It hasn't happened yet, so that means we're still in the wait of it. And I feel like that's why this last big test came, because we're all in a waiting. And the thing is like, I don't even know if there's some gold at the end of the rainbow. I think the only gold we're ever going to find is that nugget of gold within ourselves that we were too scared to release. This whole going back to childhood and reclaiming our most brilliant self that we were back then. Nothing inhibited us back then. There was no fears. There was no worry of being great. Okay, door to value has to do with sexuality. And you know, that's funny, because what does sexuality usually represent? Our sacral chakra, which also contributes to our creativity. But it is also an energy that some of us use for creativity. because the sexual nature and the creative nature come from the sacral. So, or it could be by expressing your sexuality, because some of us have been celibate for some time and not have been expressing ourselves sexually. So that could be a reason too. I think I'm speaking about myself right there. But I also feel like I ain't putting out nothing until I get everything that I need in my life first. So maybe when this precipice is upon us, that all of this arrives, maybe it'll all come in one beautiful package. One that makes sense, one that doesn't cost us to compromise, and one that doesn't need any aid. One that comes in the placement of a person who is already whole and welcomes your whole self, and you get to live in beautiful gracefulness for the rest of your lives. That's my sentiment to you. Because most of us on this journey are looking for our divine partners. And sex, for some of us, has had to be put to the wayside. I don't give up my sexual energy anymore to no Tom, no Dick, and no Harry. Because realistically, victory is surfacing. Okay, I gotta put my thinking cap on now. So, okay, I'll tell you what I'm getting. For some reason, the thinking woman is sticking out to me, because she seems to be the opposite of this caring connection. Simply because if you see the woman in the caring connection, she's very soft and loving and ready to embrace this openness of heart. And the thinking woman, not to say that thinking doesn't come through the heart. Sometimes we think through our heart and act through our heart. But in this particular situation, it's like she's pondering about something that she may not have. And she may be pondering more so to do with what is tangible through her thinking. And caring connections is something that comes by the graces of our existence. Whereas thinking is more of something that we can put into practical measure. So I feel like, because also if you see the way the cards show it, it would be like this. She has this to the back of her, meaning that she's looking this way. And what she's looking towards actually is this door to value. If you see it, it's like as if she is more looking towards the door to value. So these are things that are tangible, that she can actually feel are more tangible through the process of thinking or reading or discovering or actually analyzing. So that tangibility seems a lot more practical in her day-to-day. However, what's happening, I feel like, this victory that this person is unaware of is that it's going to encompass not only money or the door to value, but it's also going to encompass this caring connection. So whoever you are, I do feel like it is a woman. You may, or the women that do watch my channel, it means that you're not only getting what you've been after. Maybe it's a new job, maybe it's a new business proposition, maybe it's a new avenue of money. But at the same time, not only are you going to get victory with that, that caring connection is right behind you, even though you haven't been suspecting that it is something that you've been even caring. Like, it's like as if like she's more interested in going after the money and the things and everything she's been working towards, and that's been in the back of her mind, and it hasn't been at the forefront of her mind. But in the terms of victory, I feel like it's encompassing everything she had behind her and in front of her, and everything she may have had in the back of her mind and wishing and hoping and praying deep down inside in her heart space. Even though she's been using her mind more, her heart space has not eluded her. So when I see caring connections and I see simplicity underneath it, it's like simplistically, it's just going to arrive. It's not something she has to really put much thought into. It's just going to be there. And again, like last week, it's all going to be in right order. So when this all arrives, it's going to be right at the time. And I'm relating this more to do with the situation that I brought up, was that even though I felt like this was a big shake-up in my life, it happened in the right order. Because once I realized what the test was all about, and once I realized what it was underlyingly all talking about, it's like as if everything just shut back on again, or just like went pa-ching, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what this is about. So I felt like that right order moment happened for myself. So I do kind of concur with this. Now, door to value, the reason why I think sexuality is coming into this is because it kind of trips into the caring connection situation. And also because maybe this is something that she hasn't been really pondering about. So in her idea of what the door to value is, it's like as if this is something that she has kind of like not engaged in, and could be something that contributes to this door to value. Now, this doesn't mean that she's going to go sell herself. That's not what I'm saying at all, because sexuality, like I said, is closely intertwined with creativity. Unfortunately, as women, we are creatures that work a lot with our creative nature. That is a feminine trait and quality, creativity innately. We just tend to be the nourishers and the creators. Sorry to say. Yes, the sperm does the job, but we are the oven. So we are creators in a sense as well. And I feel like when she is in her proverbial mental juices, she doesn't really tap into this part of herself as much. And because she's not looking at it, and because she hasn't been focusing on it, I feel like this is an energy that's going to step into her life that she's going to embrace and open. And as she's doing that, and she's mixing and mingling in an energy she hasn't really been touching upon, that door to value is going to open up even wider, simply because she's unlocking a part of herself that maybe she hasn't been using or putting forth. And this could apply for men or women. Please know that these are fluid. However, I'm just going by what the cards are alluding to. And why this is so significant is because this bubbling up, right? Much like sexuality can bubble up, right? There comes a time where you're just like, hey, I've got to exercise this part of myself. Maybe it's creativity, but maybe it's a sexual nature, or maybe it's that energy as that flamboyancy or that femininity that you may have been reserving back. And it's surfacing it's bubbling underneath. And basically, once that opens up for you, then the victory may be had. Maybe you will have brought forth the money through some endeavor that you were trying to go after, but because you opened it not just as the thinking woman, but also as someone who represents a sexual nature and embodies all aspects of what it means to be a feminine creature. This will also, because if you look at Victory too, this is why I'm saying this, she looks very sensual. She looks very like, oh, come hither-ish too. So I'm getting this feeling like maybe the person I'm speaking to within my collective has been someone who's been very repressed. And the reason why I say that, because the thinking woman's like fully dressed. She's like totally locked in. She doesn't, not seemingly approachable. She's wearing very dark makeup. She's very like, she's got a furrowed brow. She looks like someone who's like, I'm too busy to, think about these things or go to those places within myself. And maybe this is also for the men out there, because the thing is not even to say, but sexual repression can also do a lot of things and kink up your sacral chakra. And for men, what I would say is that sexuality and virility is very important. So maybe this could even represent something to the effect of wanting to procreate. So why I say that is important, because sometimes procreation or creation in general, which is somewhat of a feminine quality, is also found within the male circumstance, like I said, with sperm. It is a formation of creation too. So to say that sexual, or maybe you haven't been sexual, or maybe you've also been in the same stance of like kind of holding on to your juices lately, and maybe there's something about releasing that. And again, I'm not saying to go out there, but maybe you haven't been flirting. Maybe you haven't been out there getting that mojo going. So maybe for both of us, both men and women, we need to kind of tempt that out of ourselves, to not only see ourselves as cerebral, but also to encompass every single facet that it is to be human, which is also our sexual nature, which may spark more creativity and more openness for the victory and the door to value. Because if we're all around happy, and we're all around, all of the pistons are firing on all cylinders, we may be having some cylinders shut down. And the thing is why I feel like this is the end card, even though it was the first card. It's because every other card is turned away from this particular card. So even though I feel like whoever I'm speaking to, it's truly, truly what you desire most. Seems like the most unattainable. Seems like something that's not as practical to attempt. And I do feel like this sexuality card goes hand in hand, because these two things don't seem as optimal or as important maybe for you right now. Maybe it's the door to value, and maybe it's trying to go after the victory of your own mind. And that would encompass a relationship, but at the same time, it's not your most important thing that you're going after. So that's why you've kind of put it to the wayside, and maybe that's hindering us. Maybe that's hindering you. And that's why it's starting to surface right now, where basically like you're realizing that you have to maybe open up, maybe go back out onto the dating scene, or maybe go back out and wear your best dress or your best suit, because it's bubbling up inside of us. And it does contribute to this overall victory, because I feel like if we encompass all the cylinders, that's our most victorious self. And I can relate a lot to this reading, because I too feel like there are times that I will be needing to get out there again. So I think this was a really beautiful read. I'm going to combine the two videos, so thank you for understanding. This was a long one. It was more of a self-release, self-realization. I feel like this midterm or this test may have happened to others, and I hope that me shedding my own life and experience maybe helped you guys out in yours. So I love you lots. Catch you on the next one. If you do like what I'm saying, please like, please share, please subscribe. Love you lots. Have a good one.